Going back to our previous, and I'd like to thank you all. Thank you all for supporting. And hopefully, you've been blessed by the reading and the conversation. If you desire to ask questions, just hit the link. It'll lead you right. If you're on YouTube, just go on ahead to King Kadesh. Like, share, and subscribe. You can do your comment. If you're on Facebook, go on ahead. All right, here we are again with another. With another. Hope you all have been blessed. I know I have. So in that, a bunch of things have happened in the news. I just want to encourage you from here to be watchful and vigilant. We can lead horses to water, but we can't. In fact, if you know the mind of a horse, you can't make anything he doesn't want to drink look attractive. It is what it is. So, what we want to do is we want to tap into that mindset about survival. The one thing that the enemy does know, that if one to the fear paradigm, he begins to make any changes. He'll take whatever he gives you. And the sad thing about it is, you won't even question. Not even question. I hope you all have decided that you're going to be vigilant and go on ahead and book. You get it. Or you can order it for Amazon. And it's important to understand that a good library is essential if you're going to improve yourself in any kind of way. Okay? It is essential. Get back in the fight. Yeah, that's when we stop. Go up the spirit of the time. Now, ah, first of all, I'd like to say for all you warriors out there, put on your caps. For some of you, this will be review. For others of you, this will be what's brand new. And we want to encourage in this day and time a mind to develop strategies. Are you listening to me? We need a mind to develop strategies now, because in the world in which we live, understand that there are many dynamics we have to deal with. There are many dynamics we have to face. And one of those dynamics is the survival thing. And we deal with the political thing, we deal with the educational thing. But once we grow to understand those dynamics, it'll be easy for us to put ourselves in a position. Okay, a lot of ways to fight a war. Doesn't always have to be outright confrontation. I was reminded of the way that some warriors in China used to fight, and they used to bait people, bait them, then run, and they, of course, they would chase them, and in the arrogance, encouraging the arrogance of the enemy would run right into an ambush. It happened in Vietnam, it happened numerous times in Korea, where they would, the enemy would set up things, and maybe one or two people would come and pow, 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 shoot at them, and then they started running in that direction, and what they do is run into a gauntlet, run into an ambush. But we don't want you to do that today. According to our scriptures, it says you're not ignorant to Satan's devices. That is provided you have a relationship and you have the Spirit of God in you, and you are accessing it. It's to take a truth and just run with it, just for the sake of it being true. But the idea is, does it apply to you? But to many people, let me say this, and you can get mad if you want to, it is what it is. Many of you, the scriptures only apply as far as you being a beneficiary. Many of you have not even done the work necessary. It's work. Salvation is not really free, okay? Because with everything you purchase, there's maintenance. Yeah, you got out of trouble once free, but you got to stay out of trouble now, and that takes work. All right. So let's go to the reading. We left off last time with absorb the spirit of the time. Okay. Remember how Napoleon was in the fight with the Persians. Okay. No, he wasn't. He with the Prussians. Excuse me. He's in a fight with the Prussians, and the Prussians were doing lines and volleys, and Napoleon's guys were out of trees, jumping from behind rocks. Are you following what I'm saying? See, it was Napoleon's ability to surprise his enemy that got victory. See? And if I could use an analogy, I liken our community today to be like the Prussians. Okay? You think that you can go out there hollering and screaming, hey, 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 gimme, gimme, gimme. Hey, 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 you're not doing right. That is not how you fight this enemy. I'm just here to tell you right now. Okay? Anybody who's watching this, who has boxed, who has been involved in boxing or been involved in any martial art that included a lot of hand techniques, you understand what I'm getting ready to say. Okay? There are times when you had to bait the enemy with the weak hand and tag him with the strong hand. Y'all are not listening to me. The jab is just such a thing. If you can imagine fishing, right? There's times when a person goes salmon fishing. When you're salmon fishing, what you do is you don't bait the hook. You just let the hook hit the water, and the fish thinks it's a fly, thinks it's a bug, and he comes up to get it, and he gets caught. Y'all are not listening to me. Okay? Sometimes in the fight game, you shoot that jab out there, and what happens is when he starts to defend himself because he's now feeling threatened that he's going to get hit, he doesn't have any head movement. You can tell a good fighter got head movement. You throw that jab out there, and he goes to move out of the way, and all of a sudden here comes the uppercut because he didn't understand. See, lateral movement, there's all kinds of movement. Punches can come. And when you were in the gym, guess what you were practicing? You were practicing that uppercut. Okay? You were practicing that overhand right. You were practicing all of those things that fighters typically don't consider. I had a blessed opportunity to watch Michael Jai White teaching people how to punch. and what people didn't realize is that with all of these arcs and everything, arcs encourage defense. But straight punches, a true straight punch, you can't defend. You have trouble defending against it. So this is what needs to happen. What needs to happen is instead of us being like the Prussians, we need to be like Napoleon. So what does it say? What does it say? Let's go down here. You can reproduce this effect on a smaller scale by attuning yourself to the spirit of the times, developing antennae for the trends that have yet to crest takes work and study. Are y'all listening? That's why you got to pull those books out, people. You got to pull those books out. You ain't gonna get all this from in a classroom. Y'all not listening. You're gonna have to pull out some books, and whatever's going on with you, you're gonna have to dedicate some time, which means discipline. Okay. We question why our children don't have it, and they watch us because we don't have it. Okay. There is a trend. There is a trend. If you see a smart child, you go to his house, and his parents got a lot of books around. They read the newspaper, magazines. Are you listening? All right, here we go. It says, as you get older, guess what? It is best to periodically alter your style. In the golden age of Hollywood, most actresses had very short careers. But Joan Crawford fought the studio system and managed, guess what? Managed to have a remarkably long career by constantly changing her style. Going from siren to noir heroine to cult queen, instead of staying sentimentally attached to some fashion of days gone by, she was able to choose a sense of rising trend and go with it. By constantly adapting and changing your style, you will avoid the pitfalls of your previous wars. Just when people feel they know you, you will change. Now, I often make the analogy, and I know that many of you who are over 40 understand what I'm talking about. The older you get, the less you care about stuff. And the reason why the less you care about some stuff is because that crystal was designed to input data so that you can find yourself moving in a particular situation. But guess what? You don't need that now. Okay? I'm almost 60 years old. I'm not going to be, as a martial artist, I'm not going to be getting in the ring with no 30 and 40-year-olds talking about bouncing around. Ain't going to work. Okay? I developed an efficiency with my skill, so I don't have to move as fast. I don't have to be as strong. But if it comes time, if I launch it at the mark, you can bet your bottom dollar it's going down. All right? So here we go. Reverse course. The great Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky suffered from epilepsy. Just before a seizure, he would experience a moment of intense ecstasy, which he described as feeling of suddenly flooded with reality, a momentary vision of the world as it actually is. Now, let's go down a little bit. Okay. Now, here's the meat of this right here. Relationships often develop a certain tiresome predictability. You do what you usually do. Other people respond the way they usually do. And around it goes. If you reverse course, act in a novel manner, you alter the entire dynamic. Do this every so often to break up the relationship's stale patterns and open it to new possibilities. Think of your mind as an army. Here we go. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, rulers of darkness of the world, spiritual wickedness in high places. Think of your mind as an enemy, as an army. Think of them as an army. Armies must adapt to the complexity and chaos of modern war. Okay? They must adapt to the complexities of war. I just want you to grab onto that. Okay, let me get some other people involved in this here. All right. We're back here at the 33 strategies of war, and we are at the section entitled reverse course. Like I was saying, if you decide you want to get this, you can go to pdfdrive.com, and along with a lot of other works. All right. Now, here we are. It says, think of your mind as an army. Armies must adapt to the complexity and chaos of modern war by becoming more fluid and maneuverable. The ultimate extension of this evolution is guerrilla warfare. Let me pull this over here so you guys can see what I'm reading. All right. All right. Hopefully you guys can get this. All right. Maybe we can go right here. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right. I don't want to leave you out. All right. So think of your mind as an army. You got to become more fluid and maneuverable. What does that mean? We're talking thought process here. Okay. Granted, many of us have some great ideas. Many of us have some things that work, but guess what? Not all things work in all situations. I relate to martial arts. There are some styles that have so many different hand strikes. In Kung Fu, there's at least minimum 5 animals. And each animal has at least 10 techniques that come out of his nature. That's how they develop whole systems like tiger and tiger crane and the crane and snake and even cobra. There's a style called the cobra style. Then there's the crane, who is just one thing, and then there's mantis. Y'all are not listening to me. And then there's the leopard. There's all kinds of animals and they have all these different hand strikes. Why? Because each one fits a different situation based on their enemy, based on their opponent. So the ultimate extension of this evolution is guerrilla warfare, which exploits chaos by making disorder and unpredictability a strategy. The guerrilla army never stops to defend a particular place or town. It wins by always moving, always staying one step ahead. All right. One step ahead. By following no set pattern, it gives the enemy no target. Y'all are not listening to me. Okay. Now, in the essential subjects, all right, y'all see that? The essential subjects. This is what it tells you to do when you encounter or you happen to be captured. It tells us Article 3. Can y'all see that? Article 3. All right. This is what it says. It says, if I am captured, I will continue to resist by all means available. I will make every effort to escape and to aid others to escape. I will accept neither parole or special favors from the enemy. Now, I want you to get this through your head. Anytime somebody gives you something, there's usually something behind it. This is the usual occurrence. There's something behind it. And you want to be careful of that, what that is. Okay? Many of us are caught up in the system because we took something and we didn't realize that there's something behind it. Okay? You thought that, oh, well, you know, because I got this money, I got this, they're giving out the stimulus and they're extending my unemployment and they're doing all this stuff. You didn't think there was anything else behind that, huh? You didn't think there was anything else behind it. Listen here. Anytime you contracted with that system, whatever tool or skill or whatever, however they value you, that's what they're going to come for when they want it. Okay. I want to challenge you all, if you're watching this, I want you to find me the law that says that we have to pay income tax. I want you to find it for me. And if you find it for me, you send it to me, or I'll download the law. You give me the links and the reference, and I'll eat the page right on live TV, right on live. Okay. Find me that law. And then I'll tell you how you became liable for it. There's a lot of stuff out there, people, and you gotta listen here. You cannot sit on your tails and just wait for something to happen. And listen here, praying to God. I know. How do I know? Let me show y'all something. Let me show y'all something. Can y'all see that? Can y'all see that? Can y'all see that? See that right there? This is Doctor of Ministry. Okay. Now, what that implies is that I studied what we know as theology. And I studied so well, and life experience, and doing research, and listening to people who made these claims, and we find out that there are some things that God will do, some He won't. Okay. There's a saying that God helps those who help themselves. Well, that ain't biblical, but I tell you what. Try to live your life without it. Try to live your life thinking that you can do it for yourself. You're going to find yourself in deep trouble. Anyway, keep it moving. All right. Now, following no such pattern, it gives the enemy no target. The guerrilla army never, listen here, never repeats the same tactic. Let me read that again. The guerrilla army, wait a minute, hold it. Let me highlight, man. Let me highlight. Save these notes. Listen here, the guerrilla army never repeats the same tactic. What does it do? It responds to the situation, the movement, terrain, and guess what? Where it happens to find itself. There is no front, no concrete line of communication or supply, no slow-moving wagon. The guerrilla army is pure mobility. Okay? This is the model for your new way of thinking. Apply no tactic rigidly. Do not let your mind settle into static positions, defending any particular place or idea, repeating the same lifeless maneuvers. Attack problems with new angles, adapting to the landscape and to what you've been given. By staying in constant motion, you will show your enemies no target to aim at. You exploit the chaos of the world instead of succumbing to it. Okay? Now, y'all see that nice little diagram. Okay? Water adapting the shape to whatever it moves in, the stream pushing rocks out of its way, smoothing boulders, it never stops. It is never the same. The faster it moves, the clearer it gets. Authority. Some generals have failed because they worked out everything. They worked out everything by rule. They knew what Friedrich did at one place and Napoleon at another. They were always thinking about what Napoleon would do. I don't underrate the value of military knowledge, but if men make war in slavish observance to rules, they will fail. War is progressive. And that's Ulysses S. Grant. Now, here's another tactic, reversal. There is never any value in fighting the last war. But while you're eliminating this pernicious tendency, you must imagine that your enemy is trying to do the same. Trying to learn from and adapt to the present. Some of history's worst military disasters have come not out of fighting the last war, but out of assuming that that's what your opponent will do. When Saddam Hussein of Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, he thought the United States had yet to recover from Vietnam syndrome, the fear of casualties and loss that had been so traumatic during the Vietnam period, and that it would never avoid war altogether or would fight in the same way that it had. Trying to win the fight from the air instead of the ground. He did not realize that the American military was ready for a new kind of war. Remember, the loser in any battle may be too traumatized to fight again, but may also learn from the experience and move on. Err on the side of caution. Be ready. Never let your enemies surprise you in war. All right. So listen here. I want you to grab onto this. I want you to grab onto this. We're not gonna be long. We're gonna, okay. I want you to grab onto this. When you woke up this morning, some of you had your ritual, your morning ritual. Got up and maybe made your coffee and, got your lunch prepared and, took your shower, whatever. Got out here, got in your car, taking off to do the job. Okay. Now, all of this, you're not thinking about anything else. You're not thinking about what's going on with government. It's a fleeting thought. If you happen to be listening to the news, they'll say it. You know what I mean? But there are very few people who, when they wake up in the morning, all they think about is how they're going to win. What am I going to do 2 or 3 months from now? How many people have a go bag? Uh-oh, I don't hear nothing. How many people have surplus food stocked up? I know I got to get hot on that. How many people have actually got a way to clean and purify the water? Because as soon as they start messing with stuff on the outside, the water supply going to be jacked up. Okay. How many of you know how to collect water from the air? Are y'all like listening? How many of you know how to make electricity off the grid? Uh-oh. Am I saying something here? See, we've done taken our lives and we have surrounded our lives with dollars. And that's, we think that the dollars will take care of all that. No, ma'am, no, sir. How much do we know about botany? I'll wait. If you have an Ollie's in your hometown where you're living, I suggest you start going there. Are you listening? I suggest you start going there. And these are the things you need to buy. You need to buy a book on survival tactics. Y'all are not hearing me. You need to buy a book on how to survive. You need to buy a book on how to produce electricity with natural, normal means. How to live in a tent. How to build a shelter from the land. And if some of you, if you're so inclined, pick up a book on rifles and handguns. I'm not saying anything controversial. Okay? Go pick up a book on guns. Why? Because if somebody's going to be firing at you, you better know what they're firing. And if you need to defend yourself, you better know how to operate one if you got one. It is what it is. Buy a book on botany. Learn the plants. I don't know. Am I saying something that's totally ludicrous or crazy? See, you need to do these things because your survival is going to depend on it. You can't fight that same war, okay? The Democrats have been constantly trying to get the government to give you stuff. Give them. Give them a degree. Give them a this. Give them a that. Give them a house. Give them some food. Give them a car. Pretty soon you're going to register in a database and they're going to assign you mates. You don't think it gets that far-fetched? Well, you better open your eyes and see. They're trying to do it right now. If they gain control over you, they're gonna tell you who you can be with. Hey, it is what it is. Okay. Now I got to say this, and then we're gonna wrap this up. One thing that struck me as odd. Before the present puppet president was elected. Okay. There was a group of people that fought tooth and nail, to to get this guy in because they hated the guy before him. Y'all are not listening to me. If that's not the dumbest reason to put anybody anywhere, come on now, people gotta start thinking. Okay? Now, let me tell you, let me pull my Bible out. I gotta show you guys something. And I'm hoping that you grab onto this, because there are some people right now who may be listening to this who will refute the claims just on the sake of refuting the claims. Okay? They're constantly trying to make you sound like somebody who doesn't have a bit of sense on the basis of you not agreeing with them. On the basis of you not agreeing with them. Okay? So I want to show you something. And when I show you this, okay. 1 Samuel chapter 8. 1 Samuel chapter 8. Sometimes we we don't have things planned, because this certainly wasn't planned. But I got to show it to you anyway. And the reason I got to show it to you is because at some point, we have to get to the point that we start using the histories to make sense in our present so that we can prepare for our future. Okay? Now, I want you to understand that this principle is not brand new. The fact that them folks hated Trump so much, there's still some folks that still hate him. Okay? There's some folks that still hate it. And that's because y'all listen to the media. Y'all listen to the mainstream. And I ain't got to say it. Y'all know folks own that. Yeah, stop playing with stuff. If you think for 1 minute that there's a lot of money that's involved in that, come on, man. You got to be about as boo-boo the fool as I've ever seen. Okay? See, listen, the situation that happened with this vote, it's not brand new. It's not brand new. Here it is right here. Okay? 1 Samuel chapter 8. What does it say? And it came to pass that Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the firstborn was Joel, second name Abiah, and they were judges in Beersheba. Right? Now, let's go down to verse 5. It says, and said unto him, let's go up. Then the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah and said unto him, behold, you're old, and your sons don't walk in your ways. Now let us make us a king to judge like all the other nations. Now, here's the paradigm. The paradigm is they didn't like the way this guy was working. They didn't like how the present system was operating. And so what they did was not to come in and say, you know what, we need to do a new thing. No, you're old. They started insulting them. You're old. You're not doing the thing anymore. Okay? Everybody else got a king. Why can't we have one? Everybody else got this. They got a democratic ruler. Let us have one. And the Lord said unto Samuel, listen to them now. Go ahead and get what they want. And in all that they say unto you, but they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. Okay. Now, with this present situation, it wasn't Trump you was rejecting. I just want you to understand that. If you're spiritual, you understand what I'm talking about. It wasn't Trump you was rejecting. You were rejecting the fact that there was some crybaby behind people that wasn't getting their way. This guy's going to help us to have our way. Didn't they what they said? Now, here's the kicker. The kicker is, weren't you told what that guy was going to do? Were you not told what Kamala Harris was going to do? Were you not told what Joe Biden was going to do? You were told. And guess what? These people were told as well. And the prophet came to him and he said, listen here. Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked of a king. And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. You're going to take your sons and appoint them for himself, his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. Okay, yeah, the Bible, hey, there's some folks that refute the claims of the Bible, but guess what? It is what it is. Guess what he's going to do? Check it out. The next one, it says he will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over 50s, and he will set them to ear his ground and to reap his harvest and to make his instruments of war and instruments of chariot. He will take your daughters to be confectionaries and to be cooks and bakers. He will take your fields, your vineyards, and your olive yards, and even the best of them, and give them to his servant. He will take a tenth of your seed and of your vineyard and give it to his officers and to his servant. He will take your manservants and your maidservants and your goodliest young men and your asses and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and they shall be his servants. He shall cry out in the day because your king, you shall have chosen you. You just said, what is that? It says, you shall cry out in that day because of the king which you have chosen you, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. So I ain't got to tell you what's going on. I ain't got to tell you that's why sickness is here. I ain't got to tell you that's why the government's falling apart. I ain't going to tell you that's why people are polarized and fighting each other. I ain't going to tell you that's why crime is up. I ain't going to tell you that's why people are having trouble finding jobs and keeping jobs. I'm not going to tell you that that's why the water is poisoned and the educational system sucks. I don't have to stand here and tell you that. Just based on that, you know why now. So what's the answer? This is why I'm reading the 33 Strategies of War, because apparently you all don't get it. What it means to come to God is this. It means to come to yourself. Understand, because what? God is omniscience. I can't get people to understand that enough. The more you know, the closer you get to God. Uh-oh, did I say something? And I'm not talking about God, government ordinances, God, government ordinance departments. I'm not talking about that. Okay, I'm talking about the character. I'm talking about the creator, the generative principle. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about none of this other nonsense. Okay, so y'all can bow to pictures and statues all day long, but I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about the spirit that lives in you, the same spirit that he's going to do exceeding abundantly, the same spirit by which he's going to communicate with you and cause you to do exploits. That same spirit that he said is going to magnify, and you're going to do greater works than him because he's leaving here, because he left here. Where are those great works? Those great works are not there. And the reason why they're not there is because you don't know who the heck you are. And even if you knew, you couldn't access all the power. You don't demonize anything they say is bad, instead of doing the work for yourself. So this is it right here. You want to find out what's wrong with your world? You can look no further than right here. You asked for it. Now he's doing a colossal crappy job, turning the United States into a giant toilet. I don't hear none of them barking now. I don't hear none of them. And that's what's bad. That's what's real bad. And I'm gonna say this, and I know y'all ain't gonna like it. Okay, there's one thing to be black and another thing to act like a nigger. Okay, just like the Muslims always say in their prayer, they say, save me from my niggardly ways, because no one can help me but you. Okay, and what do I mean by niggardly ways? What did it mean by niggardly ways? Those ways that keep you facing unrighteousness, that keep you performing unrighteous works. Y'all are not listening to me. Y'all are not listening to me. Sometimes, it gets to be hard. It gets to be hard and it gets to be tough. Okay? But I'm here to tell you this right now. If you think for 1 minute, that it's going to be any different, until we turn around. And you know what? Here's the hard thing. You may have to fight. You may have to rebel. You may have to revolt. Okay? Don't leave that off the table. Because I know one thing for certain. Okay? If you were sitting in your living room and somebody came in your living room and you had the same weapons they had and they were talking about robbing you, they're going to catch it. They would catch it. So now here it is. Knowledge is king. Okay? Knowledge applied makes you makes you a ruler. Okay? And if you're a ruler, then you can listen to somebody who rules supreme. He can give you instruction and show you how to get out of the mess you're in. All right? All right. That's that. All right. So that's my take for today. I hope you all have been blessed by that. Guess what? Meet me tomorrow here at 12. If you happen to be on YouTube, go to King of Kadesh. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the video. Tell your friends that the bishop has been online. The bishop is on fire. If you have any questions, send them to me. Send them to me right here, bishoptimhart@gmail.com. That email is designated and isolated for these types of questions. So craziness and foolishness won't be answered. I'll just send it right back and I will block it. Simple as that. All right. This is used by the Fair Use Act. If you want to look that up, it is you use things for educational and entertainment purposes. All right. So with all that being said and done, I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for being here and supporting. And I will see you tomorrow at the same time. At the same time. In the same place.